I will read out a tweet that went out from Doordarshan on the morning of the 2nd of May. So DD National tweeted, "Thanks to all our viewers, Ramayan world record." And that's what it goes. Ramayan hashtag world record with 2 exclamation marks. Highest viewed entertainment program globally. The accompanying video stated that the 16th April telecast of the mythological show was watched by a 77 million viewers worldwide, making it the most viewed episode of TV ever. An infographic compared Ramayan with the Game of Thrones, which was just at 17.4 million, and the Big Bang Theory at 18 million. How does that feel, Mr. Vempati, to be at the head of affairs and seeing these kind of numbers?
No, I think it's a reflection on how this entire country has come together through television at this very crucial moment, very crucial period. I know this is probably not the right time to be celebrating or bragging about any records because the nation is going through a very difficult moment. And when the Prime Minister announced the lockdown, he used a metaphor from the Ramayana where he said that you have to observe the Lakshman Rekha. If you want to stay safe and keep your family safe, then that Lakshman Rekha has to be observed. And so that is a metaphor that practically everyone in India understood and took it very seriously. And so to have aired Ramayana after nearly 2 decades and to have everyone come together and watch it, I think was a phenomenal experience. 2 things that probably are different from this telecast as opposed to the earlier time that Ramayana was on Doordarshan. Because in the 80s, you did not have satellite TV. A large number of homes probably had only black and white television. I remember watching it on black and white television at home. Many homes did not have television back then. And it was all terrestrial TV where the terrestrial transmitters were limited to few urban or semi-urban regions of the country. So in that sense, this is probably the first time that the entire nation actually watched Ramayana, right? Because now television penetration is nearly 200 million households. And what was unique is the social sharing that has happened, because back then you had no social media. The sharing was people getting together in their neighbors' homes and watching it together, right? So the shared experience of viewing was limited to your neighborhood or your mohalla and so on. But this time around, the shared viewing experience was of a different magnitude altogether because of social media, Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all the memes that were coming out every day. And it also put the spotlight on the actors that we've forgotten about, right? Arun Govil, Deepika ji, Sunil Lahari, who's kind of become a social media phenomenon for the role of Lakshman. I mean, back then you never paid that much attention. Now you're watching it for a second time, the intensity with which he acted. So it completely added new dimensions which were possible 2 decades back, 3 decades back. So in that sense, it is natural that there was such a large viewership, and the nation came together, observed the lockdown. And today, if we are able to reopen the economy and get back on track, I think it is largely because everyone in the country, came together and abided by what the Prime Minister had appealed to them to observe that Lakshman Rekha.
Yeah. So I agree with you on the fact that a lot of us did abide by what the Prime Minister had to say. Unfortunately, the numbers have crossed 100,000. You and I are not the experts to obviously comment on that, but the fact is that COVID is, I think, there with us to stay, and we will have to maintain social distancing. What you've done with Ramayana is you've taken me back to my childhood days, because I remember when I was a kid, I was brought up in Africa. We used to come to India every day. We were lucky enough to have a TV, and it was community viewing. And when we walked down those lanes, the music that you could hear, it still resonates when I hear my mother still watching the same show, right? And I think it was a fantastic piece of thing to do. You spoke about 200 million homes. I've got some data. I've never done this before, but I want to do this with you, where I will try and share the screen and try and show some data that we pulled out for you. And there we go. So this is, can you see my screen?
Not yet. I think it's still refreshing.
Yeah, so it should come any second now. Where I've put.
Yeah, I can see it.
So if you look at this data, this is something that I've got it exclusively for you. You all need to pat yourselves on the back, right? You genuinely do. I've been chatting up with the DD teams and all in the last few years. I've seen a sea change, right? And to be honest, I will tell you something as crude as when you were to walk into a Sarkari building 5 years ago versus when you walk into a government office today, it feels clean. That makes a huge difference, right? You go to the washrooms in a Sarkari building. Sashi, you will agree with that. 5 years ago, you could not walk into those bathrooms.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, now things are improving, which says how things are working. But the reason why you guys need to pat yourself on the back is if you look at the connectivity, the number of homes, you're talking about 200 million homes in India. Out of those 200 million homes, DD was obviously the leader at 91% of homes. Now, there are certain cable operators who do not comply. And, there is a little bit of signal drop or not being carried. You are at 91%, obviously higher than all the channels put together, all the channels individually. Post Ramayana. So this is red, and this is what happened. 8%, right? So that pretty much every home in India was getting Doordarshan. This is not visibility. This is basically availability of content, which is a huge number, 98.8%, right?
Right.
Only on the pull of great content. That's a 7.9% percentage growth. If you look at the reach, the number of people who actually were watching Doordarshan vis-a-vis competition, the market leader obviously is Dangal, run by a very dear friend Manish. Dangal free-to-air channel, obviously. Again, we'll come to Free Dish. That also the contribution goes to Free Dish, right? Because if you're not in Free Dish, you can't hit rural India.
Right.
So Dangal was the market leader with 29% in terms of the homes that were watching the channel every week. This is the Chrome data that we got. Doordarshan was at the end at 6%.
Right.
Right. And okay, there we go. This has happened post.
Wow.
That's the magic of Ramayana.
Wow.
That's the magic of Ramayana, right? So this is really, really beautiful. The number of people who actually watched the channel at that point in time. The other very important parameter, Sashiji, that we will be interested to chat up with your team. I hope they're watching, and then we can get them to watch it. Is the time spent. So on an average, people spent about 15 minutes in a week on Doordarshan. These are vis-a-vis the market leader at Dangal at about 63 in a week. And post Ramayana, so you are the last, you are on the extreme right. But if you read in Arabic, you become the first. Yeah.
Incredible.
That's incredible. That's the data. And all of this put together makes you the market leader with this share, right? From 1%, you have this share. That's the magic of what Doordarshan has done on the back of Ramayana, right? And honestly, Sashiji, it's not me saying this. I get goosebumps because we all believe, we all own Doordarshan. It's a public broadcaster, right? We're all part of it, right? So everyone takes pride in the fact that that's what Doordarshan is achieved. That's the reason I say you guys all need to pat yourself. And I kept this light.
Thank you.
Yeah. So before we come to the next, I'm going to discontinue this. I'm going to come back to our chat.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a few things. So that was the data that you achieved. Now, I want to understand a couple of things on what is more important is, as a public broadcaster, you've got such strong numbers that you achieved. So how do you think I completely understand being in the public sector, there are limitations on how you move around. But one, how do you sustain numbers? And why not? Why can you not be the best? Air India used to fly 40 years ago, and Air India was like, wow, it was the costliest airline on the Delhi-Dubai sector. It used to beat British Airways. It was paradise in the sky, right? Why can't DD be the paradise in the sky as well? Because again, it's coming there, right? How do you sustain those numbers, and why can you not become that?
No, I think it's a great question. It's a huge challenge for us because now the expectations are sky high. Right after Ramayana, and we are very sensitive to these heightened expectations from the public broadcaster. And then, as you rightly pointed out, there are also challenges, right? From a public broadcaster standpoint, there are things that I can do, cannot do. So within those constraints, absolutely, I think we should put our best foot forward and see how we can sustain this interest in viewership. One of the questions that I got asked was, what does all this mean in terms of viewership, right? For some time now, the whole calculus of viewership was on segments, audience segments, and Saas Bahu serials in this segment and something else in that segment and so on. I think what changed to it during the lockdown and Ramayana, and what it underscored was how families came together to watch television again. There was a time when the television was the glue around the family. Everyone sat together and watched something, right? Be it at the dinner table, be it during breakfast, be it on weekends, and so on. Somehow that got fragmented. Now, nowadays it is like everyone has got their own hands, and the entire viewing habits have become extremely fragmented and segmented. But public broadcasters worldwide, in fact, this was a topic of discussion at a breakfast roundtable that I had with other CEOs of public broadcasters a couple of years back in Seoul, where this was the issue that we were all grappling with is how can we bring back family viewing to television as public broadcasters. I think what Ramayana during the lockdown has shown, and then subsequently Mahabharata, and now with Krishna and Vishnupurana, what we are seeing is that family viewing has come back in a sense. People are sitting together. We saw those pictures, various videos people posted on social media, how elderly, senior citizens, young kids, the entire family getting together in front of the television at a certain point in time in the day. So if we can achieve that, I think we can sustain this viewership to a large degree. And how do we bring back family viewing? I think that is the question. So the content has to appeal to everyone. It has to have a wholesome appeal to it. In fact, when I look at most of the content on OTT, it is great production values. But then what about the social values? This is practically content that I cannot watch with my family.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think that is the big lesson, big takeaway. So anything that we do going forward will have to be, factoring this learning that how do we make it, how do we appeal to the entire family so that there's some wholesome viewing that happens.
I think so. That's absolutely that's absolutely right. OTT is coming up, but nothing beats television. You had even mentioned in some earlier discussions that you're looking at the future of DD, moving from the old terrestrial DD to an Amazon YouTube of the future, right? You want to elaborate on that?
No, I think the way we are thinking of, look at what we have done with radio, for example. I think it's a good example. Radio, the oldest medium out there, broadcast medium. And we have a fairly large and complex network. And now we have actually we have adapted it to the digital era. So recently, for example, we had Ruskin Bond read out stories for us during the lockdown.
Yeah.
And this was going on the broadcast frequencies. And then at the end of the day, once the episode is aired, we would also put it on YouTube. And the YouTube episodes are a hit. Right. Similarly, our News on Air app has a whole bunch of live streams of radio stations across India, more than 200. So you don't have to depend on being in that physical zone of a transmitter to get that radio station. Now you can listen to it anywhere in the world. So we are seeing, and then of course we extended even the air content to Amazon Alexa and other devices as well. So we are seeing a whole new way in which people are consuming content, and great interest in archives. And a lot of our archives has now been digitized and made public. So in that sense, there's a potential for DD and AR to engage with audiences from a digital medium standpoint. The specific comment that you referred to was in the context of, can we take advantage of the new generation broadcast technologies, like what is being experimented in Korea and the United States, where there is convergence between broadband and broadcast network, right? And that is a potential area of opportunity. So if we can bring in mobile phones which can directly receive broadcast signals, then it opens up the potential for a whole new set of use cases and new viewing experiences that we can enable.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the other thing, which is again, the monetization bit is still there. Any models that, so I can suggest, because the biggest revenue on television, OTT is more subscription based. Television definitely is all advertising, sales based. Is there any way, because I know other networks, private networks, the tons of money that pour in on the kind of ratings that you guys achieve. right? So KBC, I was chatting up with Samir Nair, who created KBC 2 weeks ago, right? So Star was printing currency with those kind of ratings, which you have witnessed on DD. How do you monetize that? So is it possible? I understand again public broadcaster constraint.
Yeah. I mean, see, one of the big challenges for us is our rate card is a document that is frozen in time, and any changes to it are have to go through a whole exercise of approvals and so on.
Right.
So our ability to respond to demand signals from the market is not as agile as real time as perhaps a private broadcaster can. But within those constraints, I think we've done reasonably well. I think the advertiser interest was tremendous during Ramayana and Mahabharata, to a degree where we literally had challenges accommodating everyone who was requesting to have their ads aired. And there's a lot of intense social media feedback that too many ads. So yes, so there is potential for monetization, but there is also constraints of operating in a public environment. So one of the things that I would like to see happen maybe going forward is if we can move to a more algorithmic way of handling our inventory. Then our ability to react and respond to demand signals can be much more real time and far more tuned to how the market is shaping up, whether things
would you be willing to give access to a private party for programmatic advertising, which basically mean, for example, if a private party was inserting advertising, can you hear me?
I mean, absolutely. When we can do a pilot, we can see how that goes. Today, for example, it happens in a certain sense in the case of, let's say, sports, right? Live sports, where it's a revenue sharing between Star and DD or Sony and DD, where the third party is inserting the ad. So it's not unusual. It does not happen. It's not like it does not happen in the past. But how to make it programmatic, real time, absolutely, I think we'll be open to exploring.
Right. So I'm coming to Freedish, and I'm going to share one more slide with you. You'll have the exact numbers, but still I'd like to share this as well with you. Now, this is the importance of Freedish and how big Freedish is, right? So according to our estimates, when we did our last subscriber establishment survey sometime in January, can you see those numbers, Sashiji?
Yes, I can see.
Freedish is right now, according to our numbers, which last came in a few months ago, was at 35.6 million homes, which makes it huge, right? Currently, you're looking at an all India base down from 206 million, it's come to about 185 million. Out of those 185 million, 35 million is Freedish. That's a huge number. Any other ways to monetize it besides the carriage model?
One thing, in fact, we were almost ready to experiment with before the lockdown was to see if the idle time on some of our channels could be monetized. So that, if you're, let's say, you don't have the wherewithal to take an entire channel, maybe you could take a few slots and then, air content on it. So we'll experiment with that soon and then see how that goes. So that's one potential alternate business model. Another business model could be on, co-branded channels. We have had discussions with the board in the past. The revised policy also provides for it, but that's work in progress. With the right partner and the right elements in place, hopefully, at some point we can even do a co-branded sort of channel.
Yeah. Earlier you had only two categories, right? Before during your tenure, which was news and non-news, which you broke into multiple categories depending on genre. Did that rationale help you monetize it?
Absolutely. I mean, you can see how that made a huge difference, right? Yeah. Well, the moment we went from the broad buckets to more finer genre and language-based buckets, the overall revenues of from the e-auctions substantially increased. We went from a 200 odd crore per annum revenue model to 400 plus, and now the most recent auction was 600 plus. Of course, unfortunately, by the time we got started, we got hit by COVID. So I don't know where we'll end the year, but the potential is there that it will definitely be much higher than what it was last year, and perhaps maybe not as high as what the auction results were promising, given the current environment in the market.
I'm sure. You've also given us some leeway in payments on Freedish, on the carriage, right? Which is
yes, because there was a lot of requests from various channels, and
I'll be honest, it's come with a little bit of criticism from people I spoke to. I'll pose that to you. So again, you're saying there a moratorium which comes with a bank guarantee. If you can't furnish a bank guarantee, you pay 67% now, 33% later. And if you don't want to avail either of the two, you get a 0.5% discount. Okay, you're also smiling. You also got a smirk when you say that, right? So, is that good?
Well, I can't comment too much on that because the matter is in the court right now. So it will not be appropriate for me to say more than that. But we are sensitive to the concerns, but then as a public entity, there's only so much leeway and discretion that we have. So I think this is what we could come up with, given all the constraints, and hopefully, we find ways to make it work for all the channels.
I think you've been candid on the fact that there is so much that you can do in the public sector enterprise. I have a question that every time I walk into DD, to your office or any other building, that always crosses my mind. So I'll take the liberty of asking you that. The real estate itself that gets occupied, the public center, since you've been within Infosys and you come from the private sector, you understand. Would it be possible to monetize that real estate itself?
That's a great question. In fact, that's a question that is quite a lot. There are certain constraints there because the land is given on a certain purpose, public purpose, and you can't deviate from that public purpose. So within the boundaries of that public purpose, there are potential opportunities for monetization. So we are exploring them, but as you rightly pointed out, there's a lot of value in the assets, the public assets, and if we can unlock some of that value, I think that would be great.
Absolutely. I think that was a good chat, and I appreciate the fact that I always look up to the fact that you're pretty candid and straightforward about what you have to say. I want to wrap this up again with your tweet, right? Which again gives me goosebumps every time we see that, right? Ramayana World Record, the highest viewed entertainment program globally. You went on to be the most watched channel in India, and it broke all world records with 77 million viewers, right? So I think we all deserve a pat on the back for that. And thank you so much. It was a lovely chat with you, Mr. Vempati.
Thanks a lot, Pankaj, and look forward to interacting again sometime.
Yeah, be safe, stay healthy, and look forward to some more great work from you guys.
Thank you.
I will share the data for your team.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.